It's another Monday, which means another Monday mindset message. Monday money message. I don't know what we're gonna do with this, but we're gonna have a little fun with this. I think I'm gonna start doing a little bit of a NFL commentary on these Mondays. I'm gonna armchair quarterback it on a Monday. Not in the way you think I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it for your life because I still watch the NFL. I watch football. I enjoy a game here and there. I'm a Saints fan. I'll cheer for whatever Texas team is playing. Being from Houston. I'll watch the Texans and I'll watch the Cowboys, but I think there's a lot of lessons you can get from the NFL, obviously from sports in general, and I will always be a believer that growing up, I think sports is one of the greatest things you can put these kids through because you learn a lot about teamwork, leadership, your role as a person in society, because when you play sports, you realize a couple things. One of the biggest things I recognize is that, let me go into the example right now. If you look at two of the best running backs in the league, now if you're not an NFL fan, this is probably going to go over your head. If you are a huge NFL fan, I'm not the most stat person. I don't know all that stuff. I'm just a general dude who likes watching the sport for the sport, and I do not care enough about it to make it my life. But if you look at two of the best running backs in the league right now, Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey, both were on they were both on really, really bad teams. They were the superstars of really, really bad teams. They were recognized as really, really good players on really bad teams. When Christian McCaffrey left the Carolina Panthers, who beat the Saints yesterday, and as a Saints fan, that is probably one of the worst losses I have ever watched. Anyways, when he was on the Carolina Panthers, he was the star. He was still Christian McCaffrey. He was still one of the best running backs. When Derrick Henry was on the Titans, he was still King Henry. He was one of the best running backs in a not a very good team. I think they were an okay team for a while, but not great, not good. So when Christian McCaffrey left to the 49ers, which was a relatively good team with a good core, with honestly, it's probably good to great. No, it's not a terrible team. It's not a great team at the time, but it was good, right? They got stuff done. And Derrick Henry went to the Baltimore Ravens, which are a very, very good team, and we're not going to get into what happened in the AFC Championship last year. We're just going to say that. Both of those players who were very, 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 very good, known as two of the best players in the league at their position, in bad teams, decided they're going to go to teams that were very good, where they could probably hide in the background. They wouldn't need to do as much work. They wouldn't need to do as many things. How many times in your life do you look at things and you're like, oh my God, I look good here because everyone else sucks. And you're okay with that because you look good. But if you went to a different role, if you went to a different friends group, if you went to different meetings, clubs, gyms, whatever, you'd probably be lower middle tier, and you'd be like, oh, I don't know how I feel about myself anymore. Because let's say you are the best player in the worst team on the worst league. You're going to feel like a god because you're the best player, but you're also the best player. So what is it? The smartest person in a room full of idiots? So are you really the smartest person? No. But now if you look at those two examples, Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry, on their teams that are very, very, very good. The San Francisco 49ers went to the playoffs, or went to the Super Bowl last year. Should have won, but it should have been both the Baltimore Ravens and the 49ers, but whatever. And this year, when McCaffrey comes back, he's going to be really, really, really good on a team that's doing better than you would expect for all the injuries. And then you have Derrick Henry, who's doing amazing with a very good team. Both of them got elevated even higher based on going to players and in a position where they may not have been used as much and not be seen as good. It's kind of like the thing where if Michael Jordan was put on the greatest team in the NBA versus the Chicago Bulls that he inherited, he might not have been as good because everyone else was already good, right? Like that idea. Versus when you think about where you are, if you move somewhere else where there are people as skilled as you, as good as you, if you're good at what you do, you're going to feel, I guess I'm not that good. Because now your comparison level is different. But that's where the ego comes in. What you're doing right now is you're focusing on where you are for you versus where do you fit into a system? Where do you fit into the world? Where do you fit into society? And it's really easy to get caught in a good way and bad way when you're stuck thinking about yourself. When you're focused on yourself in your marriage, when you're focused on yourself in your partnership at work, when you're focused on yourself with your kids, you start to think of, what do I need to do more? They're screwing up, so what do I need to do? What do I need to fix? How can I do this? How can I fix everything by myself? Rather than when you start thinking about yourself in the system, in the process, in the work. Where do I fit in? What skills do I bring to the table? For example, for me and my wife, there are things I'm better than her at. There are things she is better than I am at. I have never been very, very good with finance. Like, I have money at the end of the day. That's all I care about. We're not negative, we're good. She budgets better. Because of her upbringing, she had to think a little bit more about security, stability, and finances. She had to pay for college, I got more scholarship. She got some scholarship, she lost her scholarship, I lost my scholarship. Things like that happen, right? So she had to think about finances. I didn't have to because I played college ball in a small school, so it doesn't sound like I don't want to sound like I played at like UT or A&M or anything like that. I played at a small university, but they paid for a little bit of my scholarship on top of academics. So I didn't have to think as much about finances. So I've never been trained in those ways. So in certain ways, she's better than I am versus me. So for me, if I think about it as, we have money in the end of the day, what does it matter what we do? She has to balance that with like, okay, yeah, but what are we doing moving forward? Are we really cash positive or are we negative? If you think about in football, in American football, for all you non-Yanks out there, if Derrick Henry went to or stayed at a worse team because they were going to pay him, be like, we're going to pay you all the money you want because we need you to be kind of relevant, he would be seen as someone who's like, well, I mean, he was good, but he played for that team. You don't recognize and see how great you can really be until you put yourself in positions where you might not have that greatness shown. You won't know until you put yourself in those situations where it's like, you might look bad. But that goes back to the ego. Your ego wants to protect you. Your ego wants to show you that you are good at what you do. You can be good at what you do. Your ego wants to protect you to make sure that you are the best at what you do. It wants to make sure that you are the one who's always right. There's a great phrase a driving instructor of mine when I was learning to drive taught me. It's like, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. All that matters is who's left. You know, some people took a second to catch it, but when you think about that, let me repeat that. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. All that matters is who's left. Now you can take this and use it in every single situation that you put out. You could be the best player on the worst team, but at the end of the day, you're never going to win a Super Bowl, which is kind of the point of playing in the NFL, right? It's going to be like, you're going to be that asterisk of like, being a Texans fan, Andre Johnson is probably one of the best receivers ever to play the game. But because they never got to that level, he'll always have that little kind of asterisk next to him, like, he was good, but not good enough to win a Super Bowl. J.J. Watt is probably one of the best defensive players to ever play the game. Like, if y'all who watch T.J. Watt think he's good, J.J. Watt was a monster. But it'll always be, no, he never did good enough to actually win a Super Bowl. DeAndre Hopkins, same thing. Again, you can see I'm a Texans fan. Drew Brees won one Super Bowl. He should have had at least 2 or 3 more, in my opinion, if you looked at the NFL and what happened. But it'll always be, everyone thinks Tom Brady's the best. I believe Drew Brees is the best. You know, I get it. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, that generation. You youngins who think Patrick Mahomes is the best, no, come on. No, you don't even know. But because he didn't win more, he always has a little asterisk. At the end of your life, you're going to look back and say, I was really good where I was, but did I really stretch myself? Did I put myself in situations where I could really use my skills? Like, I have 2 little degrees and certificates in the back. One for psychology bio and one for web development and coding. And I've never really expanded on them other than the fact they got me to where I'm at. But I've never really fully tapped into my capabilities of what can I do in the human mind and what can I do with software and systems. That's why I'm doing this business, because I wanted to stretch. I wanted to see, okay, if I broke it, could I fix it? If I learned more, what could I do? Where are those places in your life that you've gotten complacent with your skill set right now? You may not be the best at what you do. You may not be the worst at what you do, but you're somewhere where you are learning, or hopefully you're opening yourself up to learn about what can I do moving forward? What can I do to stretch myself? What can I do to expand where I'm thinking, what I'm currently capable of, what I'm currently doing, to maybe achieve more? But this goes back into your mindset. How were you taught growing up? You have a stable job. You should be happy with that. You may not like your job. You may be unhappy. You may work bad hours, but you have a job, so be happy with that. There's nothing wrong with being content with where you're at, but your ego will keep you content in a place where you are safe. But is your ego keeping you in a place where you're safe, and you are going to look back at your life and say, I wish I tried more. I wish I did something different. Now, I'm not saying you can, I'm 32. I can't go train and practice and join the NFL. Realistically, that's not possible. But if I wanted to do something in football, I could always take a chance and learn. I could always go teaching in middle school, high school, college. I'm not saying it's that easy, but I'm saying if you really want to get somewhere, if you really want to push your life, you're going to have to put yourself in situations where you're like, maybe I take a step back. Maybe I don't like where I go. When me and my wife started dating, obviously it's all fun and games when you start dating, but when you start getting more serious, you're like, there are a couple things we need to address. And I don't know if we're going to make it out on the other side. I had a lot of anger issues. I had a lot of jealousy issues. And there were times my wife was like, my then girlfriend, fiance, was like, I can't handle this. And I looked at her like, okay, fine. I don't blame you, because I wanted to protect my ego. I wanted to protect myself and say, fine, then leave. But it's through those moments where you're like challenging that ego, where you can start to say, maybe we're in this situation in your relationship, at work, in your business, sports, with kids, where you sit there and you're like, who do I need to become to get what I want in life? What if this challenge is a lesson from something I've been praying for? Like, you pray for that moment where you're like, I want to see my purpose. And then a situation pops up. Or for me, for example, I think this is relevant to all of us. I pray for patience. I need to really pray for patience. And there are times when I'm driving where I'm like, I can squeeze in here. I'm gonna cut that person off, and I can do it. And I can get it done. Everyone's safe. It's all good. Insert Asian jokes about driving here. But then my wife will look at me like, you could have waited one more car. Like, you could have waited a little bit longer and been in a better position. So yesterday when we were driving, I did that. I got in front of someone who I could easily get in front of. I comfortably and safely get in front of. But they looked like they were in such a rush and so angry they were trying to get around me. And in that moment, I realized, like, I pray for patience. This was a moment to practice that. And I have no idea if the person behind me is so unhinged and crazy that they can, at the next stop, get out of my car and beat me or my wife up. I didn't take that 1 second to think, maybe I should just wait, let that car pass, and then go. Most of your life is not going to be in those situations where it's like literally life and death. But you might get in those situations where you recognize, like, this, I want to prove myself right. I can get in front of this car. I can tell my boss off. I can prove myself right to my spouse. I can yell at the kids. I can make my point so well known that they will never forget this lesson. You can do that at any time, but that is the ego talking. But when you sit and calm down and pray for a minute and say, what realistically is better for me moving forward, then you just take that second. What do you think about Derrick Henry? He could have said, like, nah, I'll stay here. They'll pay me a lot of money. Other places will pay me a lot of money. And I'll still be who I am. But maybe I won't get to the next level. Or Christian McCaffrey, like, he was the star. But he was also getting run up the gut over and over and over again, getting beat up. And sometimes you want to take a step back. You want to say, maybe that's not me anymore. I didn't take the punches. But maybe I don't want to anymore. So why am I going to keep doing that? When I can maybe move into a better situation where it's not easier in the sense of, like, let go of your load, but, like, it's easier in the sense that I don't have to do as much because I can trust the other people around me. You can get in a marriage where you trust your wife, or your wife trusts you. You can get into the relationship. You can get into the partnership. You can get into the business where you have that trust with others that you're not trying to do everything for yourself. The reason you feel you're doing everything in a relationship, the reason you feel like you're doing everything in your business, the reason you feel like you're doing everything for your family is with ego. You think you need to do everything so that everyone will say, you did it. Good job. You did everything for us. That's being selfish. That's not true growth. Real growth is in letting go of where you think you are, the skills you think you are, what you rely on, instead of saying, maybe God has a different plan for me. Maybe I am in this situation because I put myself here and I need to learn from it. The wealthiest people in the world have not been able to turn back time to fix their decisions, at least not that we know of. So that all that means is that no matter what, life keeps moving forward. Time keeps going on. So all you can do is sit down and ask yourself, where am I at right now? What am I doing where my ego is holding me back? And sometimes it's really hard for you to see for yourself. And that's where a coach comes in. It's really hard to see yourself in this little box we call our heads, versus when someone comes in and says, hey, this is what you're actually doing. That's why we go to therapists. That's why we go to counselors. That's why we have coaches. That's why we have mentors. That's why we have friends. That's why we feedback with one another. And if any of these Monday mindset messages have been helping you, the link's going to be below. You can find out where to reach us. Let's talk. Over the past 10 years, I've helped individuals get over jealousy and anger and trying to figure out where they want to go in life. Because again, you as a man, you're stuck in this mindset of what can I do to fix everything? And as you do more of it, you get rewarded for it. Hey, thank you for that. Oh, let me buy you dinner for that. Hey, let's go make a whoopee time. I don't know what I'm allowed to say here. And then you keep thinking, I need to do more, do more, do more, do more. At the end of the day, you look back and you say, I got a lot done, but what did I really accomplish in my life? It's really hard for you as a man to see. That's why you need to be in a community or work with men who can help you see the way. So when you're ready, you know where to go. And until then, just keep paying attention to these Monday mindset messages. I hope to make your Monday a little better with each of these messages. That's all I care about. Just making the world a little better place one day at a time with what I know and what I'm capable of. So, like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff that makes the algorithm happy. In peace, love, and light. From wherever you're watching, listening, good morning, good afternoon, good night. This is Lawrence with Candle, signing off.